Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I told you it's going to be a fantastic show, and we're just halfway through. So I want to introduce our next guest, Rachel Barkley. She's the director of Able Americans with the National Center. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's actually the National Center for, it's a big name, National Center for Public Policy Research, but you can go to nationalcenter.org there at the bottom of the screen and learn more about Able Americans and Rachel. But we're just going to jump into your story here because, first of all, what is Able Americans about?
Yes, I'm so glad that you all had me on. Able Americans is a project of the National Center that aims to help Americans living with disabilities overcome government barriers, community barriers to live full lives of meaning. And so we're coming up with policy solutions and weighing in with the government and with the media to make awareness of all of the challenges that people with disabilities face and then how we might help them.
Wow, that's incredible. I love this. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story and how you became involved here?
Yes, I'm incredibly passionate about this because I learned that any one of us could become disabled. This is not something that anyone's immune to. So I had a pretty drastic story. At the age of 29 to 30, I changed from, at 29 years old, I was a non-disabled marathon runner, fully able-bodied and healthy. And then at 30 years old, I gave birth to my first child and thought, I'm entering my 30s as a mom. And 2 weeks after I had him, I woke up mysteriously paralyzed. It ends up I had a large, rare tumor in my spinal cord, and that left me paralyzed. And then the subsequent surgery left me as a quadriplegic. So I entered the disability club pretty quickly and unexpectedly. And so now I'm on my 5-year anniversary of that experience. My little boy turned 5. I've since had another baby, and then I'm pregnant with a baby girl right now. And I have learned that even though disability is hard, it's, not something you wish happens to you or a family member, a loved one, that I can live a full life of meaning and happiness beyond my physical capabilities. So a lot of learning in these 5 years that I hope to apply to this work.
What do you think, because when people become disabled, being a paraplegic, a quadriplegic, you're having to learn a whole new way to, just get around, from brushing teeth to bathing, all those kind of things. And the costs with it, I'm associated, transportation, wheelchairs, power wheelchairs, ramps, all those kind of things. And I know there's some assistance in there, but is that kind of the big kind of downfall for people, is that cost and where you go and how you can get around?
It is, there are so many barriers. There are these, the ability to overcome access barriers and figure out how to use a wheelchair, or, if you have another disability, some other kind of aid to your mobility is incredibly challenging. And it took me, a good year and a half to figure out things like how to drive a car with my hands, or how to bathe with a shower chair and things like that. So the ability to just learn basic functions of life, I had to, relearn over again. So that is incredibly difficult. And, I couldn't work during that year when I was trying to learn all of this, and in physical therapy and occupational therapy. So certainly those barriers when you become disabled, if you weren't born with a disability. But the costs, you're right, the costs are outrageous. I think one study puts it at, in a given year, a person with a disability spends 28% more. Some people call it the disability tax, than the average, the mean family. And so you've got cost of wheelchair, you've got cost of putting ramps in your home, I still continue to go to physical therapy so that I can stay mobile and keep gaining function. Any kind of, if you use different medical supports like a catheter or something like that, the cost of that are so high out of pocket. Continuing medical care is incredibly high. We all know the cost of healthcare in this country is just, it's
So, yeah, and then it's something that enters into politics, because how compassionate are our politicians to make things? I remember when I grew up, you didn't have these handicap accessible doors and ramps. And it wasn't until I had a child and I had to push a stroller everywhere that I realized how important it is just for mobility and being able to get in and out of places. We're going to talk about another topic, euthanasia as it pertains to the disabled, and how it really affects that population. So don't go away.